Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Barakakodash, Barakathom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. And peace and salutations to Yahakim out there pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the Brother Raya with another video, and I'll be reading from an article on endoftheamericandream.com titled, "A Spirit of Lawlessness Has Descended Upon the Streets of America." This is Isaiah 19 verse 17. "In the land of Judah, and you Judites, or you so-called Negroes or so-called African Americans, who are the top tribe of the 12 tribes of Israel, and Yahushai HaMashiach, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, sprang forth from Judah, shall be a terror unto Egypt, the United States of America, which besides being biblically known as Babylon the Great, is also known as spiritual Egypt and Sodom, as pursuant to Revelation 11 verse 8. Every one that maketh mention thereof shall be afraid in himself, because of the counsel of Yahweh of hosts, which he hath determined against it." And as we'll see in that article on End of the American Dream, it's a bunch of young Judites being a terror unto Egypt, disrespecting police officers, ransacking stores, and randomly attacking these heathens out here. And it's only going to get worse from this point on. It's all through the will of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, who's putting this spirit of contention and rebellion on the 12 tribes, especially the Judites, to buck up against the system. And it's all going to culminate in a vicious race war during Jacob's trouble, where the 12 tribes are going to be against these other heathen nations, putting that work to them. This is Genesis chapter 49. I'm going to start at verse 8. "Judah, thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise. Thy hand shall be in the neck of thine enemies. Thy father's children shall bow down before thee," because in the foreseeable future, you so-called Latinos and so-called Native Americans of the northern tribes are going to no longer have that evil eye towards Judah. You're not going to have that disrespectful spirit of looking down on Judah. You're going to give Judah his due diligence for being the first tribe to wake up and relay the message to the rest of you tribes that you're the true children of Israel. Verse 9, "Judah is a lion's whelp." And when you go into that word whelp, it means a young lion or a cub. "From the prey, my son, thou art gone up. He stooped down, he couched as a lion, and as an old lion, who shall rouse him up?" Again, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, who's raising Judah out of that lethargic old lion spirit into that contentious young lion's whelp spirit. Because for the longest time, you Judites have been in that Martin Luther King civil rights, we are the world, we are one, we must come together, peaceful protest spirit, while these heathens have been putting their foot up your ass, chiefly these Edomites or so-called Caucasians. And where has it gotten you? Nowhere, except more disrespect from these other nations, as well as more of your young men being shot down dead in the streets. "We have raised an entire generation of Americans that have no respect for the law, and now we are reaping what we have sown. And you heathens, especially you Edomites, shouldn't expect anything less. What did you think was going to happen when you took the man out of the household and gave the woman all the power through the government? You've got the so-called black community, which is a burning house of buffoonery, degeneracy, and harlotry. You've got a bunch of single-parent households where young boys are being raised up into unstable young men who go out here and commit crimes. And not just that, but you Edomites have done everything you can to economically disadvantage Jake, from redlining to not giving Jake the money he deserves on the job, to causing Jake in most cases to be the first fired and last hired, and not giving Jake bank loans for a small business. There was a case down here in New Orleans on Bourbon Street where a Judite woman, or a so-called black woman, opened up a bar on Bourbon Street, and a bunch of other Edomite bar owners did everything they could to get her business shut down, which they did. And also, with these unstable young men growing up and turning to crime, they go to jail, they get a bad record, and when they get out, they can't get a good job because they have a criminal record, and more often than not, they turn back to crime, and the issue just compounds upon itself and gets worse with each excessive generation. And also, with Jake's communities being so messed up, you Edomites exacerbate the issues with Jake's committing crimes and killing each other by putting weapons into their communities. I have a friend who's a northern tribe, his sister was living up in Chicago for a while with a bunch of her Judite friends, and she said that they would find crates and alleyways full of Uzis and other guns, and they know who put those weapons there, you Edomites. I cannot even begin to tell you how alarmed I am by some of the videos that I've been watching lately. As you will see below, all over the nation, young men, young lions' whelps, are brazenly flouting the law, obstructing and assaulting law enforcement officers, and committing criminal acts in large groups, Judah being a terror unto Egypt. I think that lawlessness is perhaps the best word to describe what is happening, and many believe that what we have witnessed so far is just the beginning, and it is only just the beginning. You better buckle up. I have so much respect for good law enforcement officers across the country that have put their lives on the line day after day to protect all of us, but I wouldn't want to be in their shoes at this point. And during Jacob's trouble, you cops are especially going to get it bad. That badge isn't going to be able to protect you from what's to come. All these people you screwed over are going to come after you and your families. And I'll give you this. A lot of these 2/3 of these so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are animals and got what they deserved. But you cops know that you do everything you can to disadvantage Jake. You had stop and frisk up in New York. You plant drugs on Jake. You pull over Jake for any little thing. Salakia. And you just do anything you can to disadvantage Jake and get him caught up in the system. If you wonder why I would say such a thing, just consider what just happened in New York City. In a series of shocking videos, NYPD officers can be seen being doused with buckets of water and pelted with projectiles as they tried to do their jobs. In one video, the officers were in the middle of making an arrest. The stunning footage, which was first spotted online on Monday, shows the brazen young men in Harlem and Brooklyn dousing cops with water, and in one frame, an officer gets beamed in the back of the head with an empty red plastic bucket. The attacks on the officers started as they were arresting another young man, and in the video, they can be seen handcuffing the man while he was splayed out on the hood of a car. How would you respond if you were attacked like this?
The NYPD's top brass is responding to shocking videos that are popping up on social media. They show officers being drenched with water by large groups. In one case, an officer gets hit in the head with a bucket while trying to make an arrest. Tonight, the city's biggest police union is sounding off.
Yeah, the videos.
And you best believe that if it was Edomites throwing water on these cops, it would just be all in good fun. But since it's so-called Negroes, it's pandemonium. They're a bunch of animals that need to be put down.
Appeared up and shot in recent days during the city's heat wave. Pix 7 Shirley Chen is in Harlem tonight, where it appears to have happened. Shirley.
Yeah, Tamsin and Corey, one of the two incidents happened here at this very intersection in Harlem. Now, the videos are disturbing. They are brazen. And the NYPD, as well as Mayor de Blasio, they are calling it unacceptable.
And you haven't seen nothing yet. It's going to go from water to a different type of projectile of the lead variety.
What you're looking at is not a viral challenge. Instead, it is the utter disrespect of uniformed city police officers. Buckets of water being hurled at them by a group of males. Oh, wow. Ooh. They're hitting the cops with buckets of water.
Oh, no. I didn't see it.
Reaction has been swift. Two videos, one in Harlem, one in Brooklyn, surfacing online Monday and quickly getting tens of thousands of views. At times, you can hear people laughing. One portion of the video in the Harlem incident even shows an officer getting hit in the head with an empty bucket. The cops in each incident were restrained.
And you definitely wouldn't have seen that a few decades ago, but we're in the last days. We're right before Jacob's trouble. So again, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai is putting that young lion's whelp spirit on Judah, for Judah to be a terror unto Egypt.
And calm, even as their hair and uniforms were drenched. Reaction on social media also condemned the actions of the unknown individuals. Comments like, the cops need a raise to work there, and disgusting.
Hey, don't stop short. What did that one Edomite say in her comment? These cops need a raise to work there, animals, niggers, beasts. They should be put down.
It's like devastating. This is something people shouldn't do, but
That's it for that video. If I was a police officer in that situation, get this paragraph, I would not have been able to let that kind of abuse go, and those young attackers would have learned the hard way that there are very serious consequences for assaulting a police officer. And I'm not putting any words in your mouth, but it sounds like you would have used a little bit of excessive force. But this is what happens when we raise an entire generation without any values whatsoever. Single-parent households creating whores and mentally unstable young men. This is 2 Esdras chapter 5 verse 8. There shall be confusion also in many places, and the fire shall be oft sent out again, and the wild beasts shall change their places, and menstruous women shall bring forth monsters. Single-parent households shall bring forth thugs and animals and niggers and spics, you name it. These young people are just doing whatever seems right in their own eyes, and similar things are happening all over the nation. For example, a flash mob recently stormed into a North Face store in Wisconsin and stole $30,000 worth of merchandise. A band of shoplifters who formed a flash mob and rushed into a North Face store are accused of stealing $30,000 worth of merchandise, according to a report in the Kenosha News. Dramatic video obtained from the Pleasant Prairie Police Department shows the group of 10 shoplifters walk into the store before quickly grabbing as many items as they can carry and rushing out. How cold-hearted do you have to be to do something like this? Give me a break. You've got young black boys getting shot by cops in the park for holding a toy gun. And while I'm not condoning robbery or anything like that, just remember that a lot of these high-end items are made for a few dollars in third world countries, and just because they have a name brand on it, they upcharge the price. An even larger flash mob stormed a Walgreens in Philadelphia on the 4th of July. Philadelphia police have released a surveillance video showing dozens of teens vandalizing and stealing from a South Street Walgreens on the 4th of July. The incident happened at the store on the 1800 block of South Street in the Graduate Hospital section of the city. As you can see from video footage of the incident, the young people seemed to take great joy in the crimes that they were committing. And menstruous women shall bring forth monsters. And again, while a lot of these 2/3 are animals that get what they deserve, you heathens, especially you Edomites, can't deny your culpability in putting these jakes in such a bad situation that they're in. And you can't deny that these jakes, these so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, especially these Negroes, have been dealt a bad hand. There was a Edomite woman who did a social experiment in an auditorium where she asked a bunch of Edomites in the audience that if so-called African Americans didn't have it so bad, raise your hand if you would change situations with them or change skin color with them, and nobody raised their hands. That's it with this video, you get the point. If things are crazy now, what will things look like when economic conditions get really bad and those young people get really desperate? Nothing good. Elsewhere in Philadelphia, a pack of teen girls was viciously attacking random female victims that came across in the streets, and video of the attacks caused quite a bit of outrage. And the brother in the Hawaii camp did a video on this topic. It was a bunch of Judite or so-called black women attacking Moabite or so-called Chinese women and Edomite or so-called Caucasian women. A gang of teenagers filmed themselves targeting female strangers in random attacks on the streets of Philadelphia. The disturbing video shows the girls approaching their unsuspecting victims on the street before proceeding to slap them and wrestle them to the ground. The violent video sparked outrage when it was shared online. Of course, many of these young criminals will end up in prison, but in many cases, that will just mean that they will learn how to be even better criminals from those they are incarcerated with. That's pretty much it with this article. But as you can see, Judah is being raised up to be a terror unto Egypt, and stuff like this should make you Akim out there excited, because it's just more of an indication that we're living in the last seconds of these last days, and that the end of the heathen is at hand, chiefly Esau Edom, the so-called Caucasian. So now, more than ever, you Akim out there should have that fire in your spirit to push this word as hard as you can to make your calling and election sure. So with this video, I hope you sincere Akim were edified. And as always, I'm going to say a Baba Bal, Kwam Yasharala. Till next time, Shalom.